Welcome to the Three Gun Show, episode 271. I'm your host, Dave Hartman, and I have a really useful podcast for you today. Whether you're a new shooter and you're wondering who all these people are on the range and the roles that they play, you're a seasoned shooter that wants to step up your involvement, or perhaps you are currently a volunteer as a match staff and you're looking to up your game or lighten your load, this podcast is for you. We're going to help you sort through the roles and responsibilities of match staff and how each position fits into the big picture and works to make a major three-gun match happen. Before we get into the show, I want to tell you about a few things that are going on in the three-gun show world. First, this weekend, I'm heading to the Pro Gun Club in Las Vegas to shoot the Red October Kalashnikov Championship. So if you're going to be there blasting away on your AK, make sure you say hi. Once again, I'll be there with the crew from IWI, and we'll have the Galil machine guns with us. If you want to shoot them, just bring some extra 7.62 by 39 or 5.56. Find us, and we'll hold your camera while you run your ammo through our noisemakers. Last year, we helped a bunch of people burn up their remaining ammo from the match and put just a ton of smiles on faces. So don't miss out this year. This podcast is brought to you by the good folks at JP Enterprises. Last week, Jay Christensen and I told you about our plan to shoot heavy optics division at the 2020 Texas Three Gun Championship. If you haven't listened to that podcast yet, go check it out, threegunshow.com/270. I also published a video on Facebook and YouTube about that, so just head on over there, search for Three Gun Show, and enjoy. Anyway, I've been shopping the JP website for 308 components for the last couple weeks in preparation for this, and I'm jotting down like a bunch of different ideas for like different kinds of builds I'd want to do, and I keep coming back to their Essentials rifle line. You can get a 16 or 18-inch 308 rifle minus just a couple of the really cool go-fast parts for under $3,000. And it still includes JP's Super Match barrel, so you know that the only reason that you can't hit those long-range targets will be you, which, you know, good or bad. So get yourself an Essentials rifle in 308 or a tricked-out LRP07 at jprifles.com and come shoot Heavy Division with us in May of 2020. The Three Gun Show is going 308. And that's all I've got for you now, other than check out the Three Gun Show Pro Shop at threegunshowproshop.com. Now enjoy this podcast on the jobs of three gun with Adam Maxwell.
Adam, welcome back to the podcast.
Here we are. I don't know if it's Friday where you are, but right now it's Friday here.
It's Friday here. We're in the same time zone.
I know, but when people are listening to this, it might not be Friday.
Oh.
So
there's like a 1 in 7 chance that it could be Friday.
If it's not Friday where you are, we're just going to give you a little bit of Friday vibes.
Yeah.
For your whatever other day of the week you're listening to this on. So
that's why we sound happy. I'm fully caffeinated right now. Amax is ready to rock as well. You got your. What are you doing now?
One down.
You doing
I got
Monster?
One down.
You doing
it's a
Bang?
little early for the second one yet.
What are you doing these days? Monster, Bang, Rockstar? You like threw a.
I'm not exclusive. I'm kind of a swinger on the caffeine.
You threw a wrench in the system.
Yeah, Monster just never came through on that sponsorship. So it's like, you know what? Maybe we should start seeing other people.
I tried to buy you a Monster at TriggerCon. You're like, I don't drink that. I'm like, oh, well, I guess you can buy your own damn drink. Yep.
There's so many of them out there now. I try to mix it up and keep it fresh. I don't drink the same one all the time.
I feel like so I'm trying to cut. First of all, I'm trying to cut back on like energy drinks. I haven't had one in actually since the start of October here, but I'm doing well on the coffee. That's for sure. But I feel like there's so many flavors. And there's so many opportunities to be disappointed by those flavors that I just kind of stick with what I know in the energy drink field.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's definitely a lot of ones that I haven't tried or I don't try, but you know, if I get sucked into the colors and whatnot and they come up with a clever name, like, Yeah, I'll try that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My favorite is Bang, and like all the three gunners like, oh, got us.
Yep. I did. I drank a lot of Bang for a while. I drank Bang almost. I was kind of sick. I almost kind of burned out on it.
Mm-hmm.
Just and then trying to Jocko be a better person. Like I tried to cut back. I try to cut back on the ones that are soda like.
Mm-hmm.
So I do. I think I got out of control there for a while. So I'm trying to rein in. Stick to sugar free or the non-carbonated ones. I know for most people out there who are like really, really dietary health conscious, they're still like, yeah, you're still a mess. But I'm like, hey, that's an improvement for me. All right. So like I'm a little closer to the line, or at least I try to be. So I'm trying to stick to the sugar free ones, the rehabs and non-carbonated ones and things like that to try and make a paradigm shift away from Frank the Tank.
Good for you, man. Like I like the sugar-free ones myself, but there's still a bunch of other shit in there that I'm not that probably shouldn't have as an adult.
Oh yeah.
Or a human in general.
Oh yeah.
But as my pal Wade says, like everybody has their vice, and so it's like everyone always thinks their vice is more virtuous than the other guy's vice.
Yeah, I guess I only get virtuous on that when people drinking coffee are critical of me. I'm in this is office space here, right? Like everybody's and actually it's free. There's a lot of free coffee around here.
That's because it's basically boiled water.
If you're slurping on your whatever and like judging me, I'm just like, oh, you shouldn't need that, and like, oh, you're on your third cup today, there, bud.
Yeah.
Like,
so I kind of agree with you, and I kind of want to argue with you here. By the way, this is the Three Gun Show, and we'll eventually start talking about guns. But
right, we just got to wade into it a little bit.
Coffee does grow out of the ground, so it is something that exists. However, there's lots of things that grow out of the ground that are not good for us. So that's a weak argument, but that's how I justify it to myself pretty much.
Everything but the water in a Monster or an energy drink grows out of the ground too.
That's not true. Like taurine and xanthan gum.
Yeah, where do they get those from?
I don't know. Lab.
It all starts in the earth. It all starts in there. It doesn't fall from the sky, and you can't pick it off a tree. And even if you could pick it off a tree, then like it still would start in the ground. So unless they mine it out of the ground, like it was grown somehow or processed by an animal and then slaughtered.
That's a good. God damn it, that's a good point. But I can actually see the coffee bean.
Yeah.
And then
here's the deal though, like since I've immersed more into the tactical world for my job, those guys are a little bit less on the energy drink. Well, no, they drink a lot of energy drinks too, but I've also started to get into bourbon tasting.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't drink a lot. I don't get drunk, but I do. As my caffeine consumption has gone down, my evening alcohol consumption has gone up slightly from what it was before, which was 0 before, and now it's like, oh well, I'll have this tasty beverage instead of soda.
That's
so what's better
instead of soda?
there?
Yeah. So there's I guess in the evening there is kind of something. One of the things that I've been doing lately is like sparkling water, just so basically like water and bubbles, not mineral water, but soda water, basically, and no sugar, but it's probably still going to kill me. Like everything will freaking kill you.
Yeah. I'm trying to drink more like sweet tea instead of like when I'm on the road. If you're going to a Subway, instead of getting a Coke, I try to get sweet tea or something like that. Again, trying to make.
Does it still come out of the vending machine though, or is it like the kind of brewed?
The little brewer thing on the side. I'm trying just to make the paradigm, because for the longest time, as I grew up, you go to a restaurant like that, that's just what you have. You get the meal with you get the burger, the fries, and a Coke. Like this is what you get. So
I was just listening to speaking of Jocko, I was listening to the Theo Vaughn's podcast. I think it's called like This Past Weekend, and Jocko was on it, and they were both talking about like how when they were younger, and I identify it with it as well because I'm like smack dab in between both their ages, that was just what you did. Like, oh, I'm thirsty. Oh, there's soda in the fridge. you know?
Yep.
And it wasn't
Yep.
like, oh, that's going to kill you. That's too much sugar.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, oh, that's what you drink. It was
Yeah.
a 1-for-1 replacement for water in the 80s.
Yeah. Well, and then like I got old enough where my parents didn't tell me that I could only have one a day. So then I had as much as I want, and how much I wanted was quite a bit. And and then, you know, my significant other likes soda as much or more than I do. And so it's kind of a collective thing where we have like, all right, we can't have that around.
Yeah.
So we're gonna drink a lot of it. But
That's bad.
so yeah.
Huh.
Still am caffeinated though, especially when I know I'm gonna talk to you. So I keep it flowing.
Attaboy. So anyway, it's Friday, I think is how we got off on that tangent.
Yeah.
So Adam, we're here to talk about this is like it's kind of funny. We've done a lot of topics in the last year, you and I, that it's like, oh man, that would have been a great like first year of the Three Gun Show topic. And I kind of worry sometimes like, oh, this is going to get lost in, you know, the 270 some episodes, but I think it's valuable enough that this is something that we should definitely talk about and share with the community. And we're going to define the roles and responsibilities of staff at a match. So,
Yes.
So we're not just a couple monkeys on the outside talking about something that we don't know about. Adam, do you want to briefly describe your expertise in match management?
Expertise, that's a dangerous term.
Let me rephrase that. Experience in match management.
Well, I mean, I think I kind of got started in it the way everybody does. You know, you became active in the club, and you know, especially, well, you guys talked about it in the Phoenix podcast, how in our community, you know, to be involved, you have to help, and to help, you find that the more that you help, the more you get input, and the more, you know, especially as you get into the sport, if you want a more elaborate stage, well, okay, build a more elaborate stage. It's all you, bud. Like whatever you want. So got into it. I would say I really got into, I mean, I took the IDPA SO class, safety officer class, probably around circa 2007 or so. That's the only real, well, no, it's not the only real, but that's how I got started ROing. As you start ROing, you start to become part of the crew that's putting on matches. At that time, Forest Lake was just getting off the ground. They had like just put in their first action shooting bays. And so in some of the helping set up things, it kind of got to the point where I was delegated more and more of the responsibilities of running a match, or, you know, just like stages like, oh yeah, go set up this over there. And I just went and did it. Which led into, you know, so being fairly involved stage designer, setup person, and RO. Then my friend Jeff died, and we decided we wanted to put on a match. And then, so that was where I kind of delved into being a match director, be it on a very small scale, well, very small, but a smaller scale at the time. And then over time found that I liked this, and I do it a lot and got more opportunities to do it. The event that I started grew, and then also in and around my position here at Vortex is involved in a lot of those kinds of things. And so with that came opportunities to be in higher and higher positions, or, you know, you're the person who knew the most about it in the room, so you became the guy.
Right.
You know?
Subject matter expert is what we called that in aerospace.
Yeah. So it became subject matter expert. The guy who was running it before is kind of like, well, I have these ideas. What about that? And before you know it, you know, you're the guy.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at the list of notes that we have put together, and I have done all these jobs to some extent at one time or another.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty much everything we're going to talk about, with the exception of some of the media stuff. I mean, I've done all this at one time or another. I could say, as far as like shooting year 2019, I was involved at a high level in, I'll claim, 4 major matches across 2 disciplines. So we're talking most recently Wisconsin 3-Gun Championship,
Jeff Kirkwell Memorial match, Vortex Extreme. What's the fourth one?
I would say. I mean, I was on staff for the Trigun.
Oh yeah, Stafford Trigun. That's right.
I wasn't a high staff person there, but I'm involved. And then we're also involved like back end. We have a significant role in shooter source.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get in so much in the Wyoming Governor's Cup, but we're big supporters of the UML series and things like that. So not necessarily these jobs involved in some of those matches, but we're involved in other sides of trying to put some of those on.
There's also one that we didn't really put in here, but that would just be like kind of consultant, and that seems like it's more of a just developing thing instead of like a title you receive. Like people just call you up and, hey, what do you think about this? There's a lot of that. I get a lot of that. I get a lot of phone calls and emails about that. By the way, don't Facebook message me. Email me, dave@threegunshow.com. So there's a lot of that I get as well. Like, hey, what do you think about this idea? If we did this, what do you what's your opinion on it? Does this sound fair? Does this not sound fair? That kind of stuff. Because fairness is something that we talk about on the Three Gun Show all the time. And so people in the shooting sports that are constantly thinking about it, they like to get like a reality check from a friend, like call up like, hey, does this sound right? This is what I'm thinking. So I kind of
like a couple key people who do that in our industry. They might even not want this kind of attention, but Jeremy Gresham and Ruben Alexson are those kinds of people. They are big sponsors of a lot of matches. So match directors come back to them. Okay, you guys are big supporters of this. Are you okay with this? Or, what do you think about that? Well, what if we did this? And they don't say you will or you won't, but they have an opinion. So they have a lot of influence over the sport in that, what'd you call it?
Consultant.
That consultant role. You might not see Ruben on Three Gun Show as much as I do, but Ruben has as much certainly more influence on the sport than I do as a consultant for so many matches because Vortex sponsors so many of them.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. A lot of that stuff that goes on behind the scenes. A lot of people have more. Yeah, a lot of people have more input on matches than you would think. It would surprise you if you really knew how much people are thinking about this stuff. Like, as a match goer, you may prepare a month out and practice and get your travel plans and book your hotel and stuff like that. But there's guys that are thinking about this way more and on a constant basis. So I feel like that covers your experience in this area real quick. I'm going to cover mine. So number one, the Three Gun Show. I've had 300 conversations about this sport in the past 5 years that have been recorded, and thousands other ones offline. So we already talked about the consultant role. I've done media for several matches this year, as well as last year. I put on. I was co-match director for the Big Bend Blast and Dash, which is a 5K running gun that we held in Colorado. Coming back June 2020, by the way. And I mean various other roles, but we'll go through these roles and what their responsibilities are. We're going to talk about like definition of the role. We'll talk about their responsibilities, and then some expert tips from Amax and I to go along with it. I'm probably underselling my experience here, but whatever. Who cares?
Yep. And like this wasn't written down anywhere. Just kind of figured this out over time. But part of it comes from two places. We talked a few or several episodes ago now about volunteerism. It's kind of a theme we're bringing up from time to time. Lots of people want to help and they don't necessarily know what they can do, or they know that they don't want to RO. Well, like, I want to help, but I don't want to RO. So they don't really understand that there are other jobs.
Yeah.
Besides.
Well, and on that note, one of the things that we've also talked about along with volunteerism is the fact that there's like just an absolute shit ton and a gob of matches out there. There's a glut in the market. So I see like a lot of, from my perspective, there's a lot of people that are like, oh, that match was awesome. I want to hold one just like it, but near me, and then I can be the match director. It's like, you can just go help with that match. Like, they need help. They would love
Right.
to have you help. So
Right.
we're and then maybe you just don't even know what some of these people are that are talking to you on the range, and so we're gonna clear all that up right now.
Yeah. Well, and you can burn out doing the same job all the time. Like, I wouldn't want to be range master of every match that I want to be a part of. You know, I still volunteer as an RO for the Trigun. I have almost zero responsibility except for one stage, but we're helping with that match. So you can still be involved, still be engaged in it in that way that I like to be. But that one's like, okay, I don't have to come up with all the ideas for one, but I can still help. So you can spread yourself around that way too, doing some of these different jobs at different places. So depending on your skill set.
Absolutely. And then you get to associate with the match staff. You get to be on the inside. There's going to be opportunities for furthering your shooting career via helping, right? Like, we always talk about it, like in the club matches, like the guy that helps, we know those people, we know the guy or the gal that's there, that's helping set up, that's helping tear down, that's helping put all the targets away, that's helping with this and that. And you're more apt to get like the advice from better shooters or help in this area, or I don't know, maybe the bro deal on a used pistol or a used rifle or something like that, if you are that volunteer person. So be a better person and volunteer.
And then the other reason I wanted to talk about this too is kind of on the flip side. You got people who are volunteering all the time, or they want to help, but they this came up a few times this year. Someone was like, well, yeah, I really want to help, and I understand you need ROs and everything, but I want an important job. And it's kind of like, well, okay, what do you want to do? I don't know. I want an important job. And it's like, well, they're all important. Actually pretty important that I have enough ROs for every stage. But so like, or the other thing too, especially at ranges where there are a lot of motorized vehicles, guys are like, oh yeah, well, I want to be the guy who cruises around and help you. You need the guy that cruises around. It's like, no, I don't. That's not a job. There are jobs where you do that, but that's not a job. Like, you got to take one of the real jobs, and then that comes with it, kind of deal. So that's kind of why I wanted to run down, like, okay, so these are the roles that we need to put on what we would call a major event, or a sanctioned event. So
yep, cool. Well, let's jump into it. Let's start at the start here, and so we kind of have these in pre-match and during match, but there's a lot of crossover in between. So we'll start at the top. Match director. What is a match director, Max?
I would say the match director is sort of the CEO, or the ringleader, or the primary leader of the direction of the event. In like pro ball sports terms, that would be like the owner of the team. It's their event, it's their show that they're putting on for an audience. So they're kind of the top facilitator of what's going to come down.
Yeah, so that's a really good definition of the role. So roles and responsibilities. Buck stops there. Like, they're responsible for everything. So when you're putting a match or when you're getting a match off the ground, you're number one responsible for recruiting people, I think, and then all these other tasks can happen via delegation or via doing it yourself. Match directors a lot of times like to wear 1,000 hats, and I think that ends up burning them out. But like, realistically, the owner of the team kind of thing cannot do everything themselves. They can't put points on the scoreboard without a legitimate team. So they put together that team. They select all the next people that we're talking about, and it's kind of multi-level marketing kind of thing. When you're the match director and you get Adam involved, Adam can bring 2 or 3 friends, and then you get Dave involved, and then Dave can bring 2 or 3 friends, that kind of thing. And then now all of a sudden you're getting together like a pretty good team, and you're able to fill out the other roles that we're talking about.
Yep. Match director, I mean, they're also deciding a lot of back end things that nobody thinks about. So like, they're making sure that parameters of the facility are being met. Then make sure we have enough staff that all they're delegating things, making sure the event has insurance, managing where the money's going when entry fees come in and everything. Kind of the not fun stuff that nobody likes to do. That's all stuff. That's all match director stuff. You either delegate it to somebody else or you gotta bring it under your purview. But like that's administrative head administrative person.
Yeah, and that's why they always look filthy and disheveled at the prize table.
Well, yeah, and most of the work is done months in advance.
Yeah.
Like I mean, my stress level goes down as on events where I'm a match director. My stress level goes down when we start shooting because like all the hard crap is over. Like it's down. This is the fun part now. Like all the stuff that I didn't want to do is over now.
Yeah, so
until the event's over, then you got to wrap up stuff.
So yesterday I got a call from my pal Mike, who was the co-match director of the 5K and run and gun that we held in 2018. And we're skipping 2019. We're doing it again in 2020. And yesterday, we started talking about the 2020 match that's going to be in June. So 8 months out, and I feel like, oh, crap, we might be a little behind the curve here.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, Kirkwald for me was 2-3 months ago now. And I'm still not really ready to talk about it, even though I probably should.
Yeah.
One of these other people we're going to talk about on here, I really need to get with that person and be like, all right, what's our sponsorship packet? Because budgetary or fiscal year type stuff is getting decided this time of year. So
yeah, you
got to have those ducks in a row. So it's really time to start talking preliminarily about it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a lot of match director responsibilities are not at the match, especially if they're not wearing the range master hat.
Yep. So. And one of the things about the match director role is that you do need to have those conversations early and often, but after the match is done, like I told all the people they weren't allowed to talk to me about the next match for a month because it's such a it's so much work leading up to that you just kind of want to be like, all right, we got to take a break here, otherwise we're going to be like family and start fighting.
Yeah, exactly.
So, okay, well, tips and tricks for a match director. What kind of personality do you think match director needs to be, and what are some best practices?
Match directors need to be good delegators. If you're the kind of person who just says yes and doesn't give anything, isn't good at getting things off your plate, you're not going to be a great match director. You might function, but like good match directors, in my opinion, are like people who I'm very fortunate that I have a very good group of people that for some reason desire to help me. And once I've kind of given them a piece, like I don't think about that piece anymore. So like when it's fun to pick on Travis comes and talks to me about prize table stuff, I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, well, what do you think about this? I'm like, what do you think? What do you want to do? Oh, I think we should do this. Okay, do that. I delegated that to you. I don't, I trust your judgment. Do whatever you want.
Yeah, that's your thing. Fly, little pelican, fly.
Yep. But the match director also has to have, you have to be able to look at things on a big picture scale.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to be able to feed all those skills, all those people who wanted to help you. They want something to do. So you want to make sure that they have something to do, and that so if things need to get done, you need to make sure that you're giving them, keeping those people operating at whatever their optimum capacity is or effective level is. And then you also need to make sure that the event has, biggest things like insurance. You got to make sure you have insurance. You got to make sure you have somewhere to go with the money. You got to make sure that you pay taxes if that's applicable. All of those kind of things. Kind of have to look at the holistic on, like, from a business side. You're bringing in fees, so you're running a business. So you need to kind of have that business sense of all the cogs in the wheel that go along with that. You need to have an eye towards sourcing water if you're going to do that kind of thing. You need to have an eye towards food vendors if you're going to do that kind of thing. Big picture stuff. You need to look at the big picture, and as soon as you have a little thing that's like a full-time job you can hand off, you need to be able to tie that in a nice little bundle and hand it to somebody.
Yep.
That's a good match director, in my opinion.
Yeah, and basically you're either writing or dictating a lot of requirements to people, and giving them the latitude to work on it themselves. I don't think like a good match director would be a micromanager, because you would just go insane trying to.
And they have.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So I'm happy with that one. Next one is that we have down here is property coordinator. And so again, a lot of these roles can be the same person, but we're talking about very specific responsibilities here. So property coordinator sometimes falls under the match director. What exactly is a property coordinator, Max?
Yep, like you say, usually this is a person that's doing other things as well, but most facilities that we have matches at are not, the event itself is not put on by the person who owns or is in charge of that facility.
Right.
So it's either a private facility like the Cawthorn Cartridge Club, that's a 100% private club, and they allow an event to be held there. So there's a property owner that needs to be talked to and corresponded with. And on the flip side, public gun clubs or clubs, they're usually run by a board of directors. So there's usually a small or large group of people who feel they have a say in what goes on at the range. So somebody has to coordinate with either who their point person is, or as we kind of talked about with some of the events we did this year, like that group of people needs to delegate somebody that they're like, okay, well, we're going to have this event, and you are in charge of making sure that this club's interests are protected and looked out for at the event. So like at the Wisconsin Championship, we had Jay. Jay was a board member, or wasn't a board member, but he was kind of the one who was the go-between between the board of directors and, match staff. We have no connection to that club. I don't really go there for any other reason than to run that match. So he's the one that makes sure that I know what the rules were. I was a range master at that one. We'll talk about that in a bit. But like making sure that everyone knows what the rules are. Okay, we can't shoot rifles here. Okay, we need to make sure we pick up the hulls over there. Four-wheelers can't go on this grass, but they can go on that grass. Property coordinators like that, making sure that whoever owns the property, their wishes are being respected.
Right. And so there, I'm going to say something kind of inflammatory here, but a lot of this is ego stroking, because in
absolutely
a lot of boards for ranges, there's a lot of people that have a they're emotionally invested in this range. It's where they hang out, and they like things a certain way. And if you come in and upset the cart, they freak the fuck out and make your life miserable. So
yes,
it's a lot of oh yeah, no problem, we'll do that. Yep, we're gonna be good boys, no problem. And then trying to live within those rules. I don't personally deal well with that stuff, so I would be a bad property coordinator, especially if there's a board involved. Because my thing is like, hey man, we're paying $5,000, we're paying $10,000, we're paying whatever we are to be here. It's like, I don't need, the old dude with no job and hates his wife, who's always hanging out at the range, to come over here and tell me where I can and can't put stuff. Like, it's our responsibility to make sure that this is safe.
Yep. And some of that kind of depends. There's more than one way to skin a cat. There's more than one way to have a match at a range, whether they're renting the range from the owner, or if they're paying by the head, or if it's a club sanctioned event, or there's all kinds of structures.
Yeah.
And we need somebody, be it a match director or some delegated person, with an eye towards that. Otherwise, you might get to do the match one time and then it'll never be back there again.
Yep.
Or you might ruin it for future generations. So property coordinator is just the person who's coordinating with whoever owns or operates the facility.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm not very this isn't the ideal role for me. But one of the, if we're talking best practices here, I've observed that taking the input of the people on the board, like the old dudes that I was talking about, that want to tell you where to put stuff and how you're supposed to shoot things and when you can pace targets and stuff like that. If you listen to them, make sure that they're heard, repeat back what they say, then that is pretty much 90% of it. Is just making sure that they are heard, that their objections have been heard. Excuse me. And then moving on. Now, if you have some sort of job that you can give this person in your match structure, then now you're on the same team instead of it being like adversarial. Like they're on the team, so now we're working toward the common goal. So it's like, hey, Bill, our old dude, Bill, you're on this team now. Why don't you be in charge of that? And then we can move forward. And so now you've got their buy-in. And a lot of times the board the board members, they really, really want to help for the match. And so accepting their help makes things run a lot smoother, no matter what that help is. Just,
Absolutely.
get something off your plate and have one of the board members, be a part of that match.
Yep. Yeah, and choose carefully who this would be if you have any say in it, because they can make your life really easy, they can make your life really hard. And I don't know. I haven't told very many people off before, but I have told off a board member. It's one of the glorious moments of my life that I realized later, but at the same time was completely preventable by proper property coordination.
Yeah.
But maybe that's a story for not recorded sometime if you want to ask me.
I do want to know about that one. Yeah. So
you do, but all listeners can ask me.
There's tons of examples. I think a lot of people know at this point I got banned from Pikes Peak Gun Club in Colorado at the Colorado 3-Gun Championship, and that was a case where a 3-gun match was happening, and a board member who is a tactical trainer did not like the match, and he did his damnedest to make sure everybody had a terrible time. And I wasn't the only one that had an issue with the dude, but I was just the one that stood up to him, and that resulted in me getting banned from the range. But the general feel of all the people at the match was like, this was a really good match, even though this guy harassed 30 people out of 100. So it's amazing what one person can do for your match. So it's not something to take lightly when dealing with the board. So property coordinator is a huge responsibility.
Yep. It's pretty hours involved, probably fairly small, but importance very large.
Yes, big time. So here's another thing that I've observed is if you have if there is someone in your if you're going to be having like a match like at a at like your local range, right? If there's someone in your 3-gun club, a regular 3-gun shooter that is on the board, that guy becomes a property coordinator because he knows all those dudes by first name and they know him, and there's already trust and rapport there. Whereas you're just the in Adam's case, I'm sure he gets this a lot, you're the young punk that just comes in and thinks he knows everything. And it's like, well, you may know everything and you may be young, but
obviously.
Exactly. But they just have that knee-jerk reaction of like, hey, this is my house and you can't tell me how to bake these cookies. I know how to bake cookies, even though Adam makes a really good cookie.
I do.
Yeah.
Allegedly. But anyway, property coordinator. So the next one you want to talk about, did you want to talk about build crew next?
Next we have prize table coordinator.
Oh man, I guessed wrong. Prize table coordinator. This is the most involved, the most timing intensive, the most underappreciated job that is also kind of dying at the same time. But this is the person who gets you all the prizes.
Yeah.
All things sponsorship and prizes from the match direction, from the match outward. That's this person.
And this is also the person that generally hangs all the signs, all the banners that say Vortex or IWI or JP on them. This is the person that hangs all those things. They create the relationships with these companies to get them to contribute prizes. And I will say that of the match that we put on, Mike and I put on for the 5K run again, we didn't have like a huge prize table because it was just a little mini major, but it was big for our britches, and the prize table coordination there took a lot of time, took a ton of time. And if you talk to match directors that have been in this for a long time, they'll say the same thing. It's like, man, prize table takes up so much of my time. If I wasn't doing the prize table, I could put on a way better match. So delegate, make someone a prize table coordinator, and delegate that.
Yep. Like in my situation, I'm very, very blessed that my friend Travis is willing to do that for me. So I can put on a really good match because I don't have to worry about any of that stuff. He does a great job, and he is typically, you want somebody, if usually this ends up being the person who is at least the most connected to the industry, if at all possible. But also, this person needs to be social.
Yes.
Like, very social, very conversational,
organized,
very likable, very warm, fuzzy, nice, good on follow-up. So typically, if you have someone who's sales inclined in your group, this is a sales job from the word go. So
yeah.
This is creating a relationship. You're selling promotion at your match. You're trying to get as many prizes as you can for that return of marketing promotion. So this is like, there's a lot of people who like, oh, I made the packet. I'll send you the packet. And they just kind of like flop it down on your table or send it, attach it in an email.
Yeah.
Like if that's all your prize table coordinator does, hats off to that person, but that sucks. That ain't doing it.
Yeah.
All right.
And so along with delegating it, one of the things that I would say is make sure that prize table coordinator has your vision for the match. Like if you're the match director and you're delegating this, make sure that they can, they not only know the vision for the match, but they can articulate it better than you can. And then they then need to go sell that vision to other people. And
yeah, like Dave was saying, if a match director can bake cookies really well, this person needs to be able to describe the cookies so well that you can taste it.
Yes, absolutely.
Very few of these people are going to come to your match. So this person needs to understand the vision, taste the vision, buy into the vision, and then want to give you some of their marketing, budget for the year. To do that, and generally because these are kind of looked at as donations or things of that, even though it's not really a donation, they're getting something for what they give you. Generally speaking, by the time they say yes, they may say yes in February, and your match may be in July. Well, between February and July, like the rest of their life is going on, so they've probably forgotten about you.
Yep.
So it takes a lot of follow-up. Be like, oh, hey, remember when you said you were going to give us that thing? Are you going to, follow up to make sure, like, okay, well, exactly what items are you going to send? When are they going to be here? I need them by this day. So getting all those people on board and then keeping them on board and getting all that stuff to the match at the right time, that's a big job. It takes a lot of follow-up. And it takes you want a very likable social person to do that. And if you have one and they're on board for it, like Travis loves talking to me. He doesn't need a reason to talk to his industry friends to want to do it. So now we just gave him a reason. We like, all right, Travis, here's a reason to call up all of your friends. He can't, his Rolodex just like. And he starts at the beginning and goes to the back, and it's like the greatest. That's his year. He loves it.
Yeah,
and we're very blessed that he likes it. But you need somebody like that who's got a big Rolodex, loves to talk to people, is likable, but can get that work that angle from a salesman. Not doing anything coercive, but like the whole time, like, yes, we're selling you something, and I need to close you. and then I need to collect. So
I always forget that sales has a bad connotation sometimes because, like, I am in sales and I've, degree in marketing, so I went to business school and pretty much been selling my entire life. And I look at it as like getting people fit with the correct item that they need that would make them happy, filling needs. But I always forget that there's like a negative connotation. So
there's the peddler of goods.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Snake oil salesman kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But so yeah, make sure your price table coordinator is not that person. I would say just a couple tips and tricks here. The number one thing is, like, when you make that packet, it's not about you. It's not about the match. It is about what you can provide for the sponsor. And that's number one, what sales is. Like, we always, in sales, we talk about features and benefits. Like, hey, this is a cookie. It's peanut butter. Or it's like, this soft, gooey peanut butter cookie is going to make your day better after you eat it. It's like, that's different difference between features and benefits, right? So you got to talk about the benefits of the match and what that means to the sponsor. Not like, hey, we'll hang a banner. It's got to be like, hey, we will put you on our social media, which has a reach of blah, 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 right? It's benefits people, benefits. So think of the benefits for the sponsor.
Yep. And don't lie. So be honest.
Yeah.
But at the same time, whoever it is in the industry that this person is engaging, probably talks to a lot of people like this. And I can tell you, they all say the same thing. Like
we'll put you on our match t-shirt.
Yeah. Or like, involved in the law enforcement side. Do you know how many SWAT conferences there are in the country a year? And they all promise the same thing. And they're, some are definitely better than others. But they all promise, oh, yeah, we're going to get you in front of the decision makers and blah, blah, blah. And you're going to have exposure and this and that and the other thing. And so they all sell the same thing. So they all sound the same. So, like, why would I sponsor yours versus somebody else's when you just sound like another conference, or in this case, a match? There's tons of matches. Why would I sponsor yours?
Well, it's like you've talked about in the past, AMAX, is like when you're putting on a new match, the first thing you think of is, what does it add to the landscape that's already out there?
Yep.
Is it different than every other match on the ground? And then, second and third is like, how are we going to score it? How are we going to staff it? Right.
Right.
So, think of that I guess articulate that to the prize coordinator, or if you're a prize coordinator, you need to be articulating that to your potential clients, your prospects, because it doesn't freaking matter if you're the exact same thing as everybody else, because they're just going to go to their favorite. So, or the one that they've done before, or the previous relationship. So how are you different? What do you add to their business, and what do you add to the match landscape?
Yep.
Damn. And I guess here's a tough one. Prize table coordinator has to be willing to get some of the coolest stuff, some of the coolest toys sent to them, and walk away with nothing at the end of the day.
There's no underselling how hard that is.
Yeah.
Because, yes, a prize table coordinator needs to have a lot of integrity.
Yes,
because
integrity.
Stuff's showing up. We're all gadget people. We all like the toys. They get boxes of toys, all right? Boxes show up from Hyperfire and Geisley and Vortex and who else? 511, and it just all of it. And it's like, well, man, there's this whole box. There's 20 charging handles in here.
Yeah.
Like I could take one.
Yeah.
You
could take one. But it's that thing of like, for all the work, all the year of work that I put in, a charging handle's a good take for that. Yeah. It's a good exchange. But if anyone ever sees that charging handle, not only is it not what you told, like in this case Radian, not what you told Radian it would be. It didn't go to a competitor like you told Radian it would. It went to you. If anyone ever sees that on your rifle, they're going to suspect you of stealing everything.
Oh yeah. Yeah, once you get that tar on you, you can't get it off.
Yep. So is it worth it for a charging handle?
Yes, and it's a slippery slope. You know, you're gonna take one thing, or you're gonna take one thing out of every box, or you're gonna take 10%.
Yeah. Well, if you just took a charging handle, I mean, you need a trigger, and you need a parts kit. You know, so yeah, it is a slippery slope for sure. So 100% integrity, and then being willing to not take anything for yourself. So being selfless is a huge thing, and some people argue like, well, we pay our prize table coordinator in letting him select a prize. Like I 100% don't agree with that, because that is letting the coyote guard the hen house, and you don't do that.
Yep. And so at the same time, the on the industry side, industry people who come to your match, they know how much they sent.
Yeah.
So when they look at the prize table, IWI knows how many guns they sent.
Mm-hmm.
IWI,
or not specifically IWI, but
just picking names.
But there are companies that, I mean, so when a company donates prizes to a match, a lot of times they'll get a match slot, right? They'll send their sponsored shooter to shoot in that match. That sponsored shooter may or may not be instructed to observe what's on the prize table and report back to make sure that everything gets on the prize table, because there have been in the past, hopefully the distant past, there have been a lot of prizes that have not shown up on that prize table. So companies are savvy to that, and they will delegate the responsibility of someone actually counting what they put, what's out on the table, and making sure that matches up with what they sent.
Yep. But yeah, this person,
Integrity.
that's a very good point. Yeah, integrity. I mean, this is the person, at retail who's counting the cash drawer at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think that's all I can say on that.
I think that's what I want to say on that too. So, next up is build crew. So,
Build crew.
Yeah. What is? I mean, build crew. It's pretty obvious from the name there. But what is the build crew? What's the definition of build crew, Adam?
Build crew is the entire cast of folks who assemble the match. So when you show up to the range and everything's in Connex boxes and scattered about, or they're the people who are going to lay out all the equipment, pull out the equipment from wherever it's stored, put it in place, hopefully construct from a drawing the stage that was designed, usually not by them. Somebody somewhere designed this stage. Sometimes that's the match director, sometimes that's the range master, other delegated people. Hopefully, if you're gonna go do the range master or the match director, delegate stage design. Just do it.
Yeah, if you got an idea for one, that's cool, but you're gonna burn out after 12, and then you're gonna phone it in on that 12th one.
I absolutely did. I absolutely 100% burned out on working matches by designing stages.
Dude, I've seen that too. Like, if you show up for a match early sometimes, like I tend to do, you'll see like 7 stages on the ground, and they're like, oh yeah, we need another one in this bay, and then they just kind of stare at the bay, and you're like, oh, yep, this one's getting phoned in.
That's my nightmare. My nightmare is an empty bay.
Yep. This 8th stage is going to be shit just because they're all out of ideas, and they're 2 days before the match.
My nightmare is standing in bay number 3 at Forest Lake, and it's completely empty. And Cody West and Connor Speece are standing there asking me what we should do. I'm like, no! And then I wake up.
Good times. Yeah, so the other thing I would add to that, Adam, is that they're the guys and gals that are building walls. If need be, like you're taking all the props that if you've got an active club that you guys have destroyed over the last 11 months, and you're refurbing them to be presentable for a major match. And if you're not doing that, you're doing it wrong. Because one of the things that I really liked about Three Gun Nation is that, at least like in 2015 when I first started shooting it, is that you would go to a match, all the tables were painted, all the walls were painted, all the steel was painted, like everything looked taken care of, and it was like you were going to an event rather than going to Uncle Randy's shoot shack and just blasting whatever piece of shit that he had out on the range. And then, this dump barrel over here has a hole in it because Uncle Randy, AD'd in it, and it's like everything just looks disheveled,
Yeah.
So
I definitely like that too, where everything has that polished look to it.
yeah, I like that as well. So
True.
props. So if you've got like a shooting platform, they're building the shooting platforms. If you've got like you're going to make a dragon, or in the case of Texas 3-gun, you're making the Alamo or a cannon. Those are the guys that are actually cutting the wood, screwing everything together. That's your build crew.
Yep. And so the build crew too, I think here's one of the things that I don't know everything, but I'm right on this. So a build crew, the way it works, well, first you need people who can get off of work in the middle of the week or are willing to take vacation. Understand and respect that about these people. And then from there, when they show up on build day, what you need to do is keep them all working. The way you do that is however many people you have, generally speaking, the model is you need one person who you can delegate to, you can hand a picture and say, build this. And they'll say, yes, okay. And that person will understand what things they need and how to set them up, at least in the broad strokes. Like they can get it pretty darn close. That person needs anywhere from 2 to 3 drones if you have them. So those are people who don't have any skills, don't have any skills, but they don't
have a desire is another part of it. It's like there's times where I'll show up and be like, dude, just give me something. Just tell me where to put the poppers, because like I don't want to figure out where to put the poppers.
Yep. So you need one, I'll call them a skilled build crew person who you can hand a picture to and they can assemble that picture. That person needs 2 to 3 people who will be like, all right, I want 3 poppers over there. You put the wall there. Hey, can you run down there and move that popper a little bit to the left? Okay, these are all good to know now.
Yeah.
So you need one person who can kind of tell, people who the other people I'm talking about, those are the people, they'll stand there until you tell them. They will gladly do something, but you need to tell them what to do.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's like active and passive, right? So there's
active and that's much better. Thank you. Yes. You need an active build crew and you need passive build crew. Mm-hmm. One active person needs 2 to 3 passive people to build a stage.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily saying that one is better than the other, because they're both just as important. Because if you want to see a partial target and you're standing 25 yards uprange at a wall, and another guy's standing 25 yards downrange with that target, and you're going left an inch, left an inch, left an inch, both of those rolls are equally important. Yes. So don't feel one is better than the other there.
And without the other guy, the primary guy is walking back and forth.
Yeah, you're going to get a couple 100 yards under you moving that one target, and so yeah, you're equally important in that perspective.
You need in the purest sense of the word, you need 3 times more of the passive people than the active people.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So that's build crew. Also, these have to be the kind of people who can lift things. Generally, they're pretty outdoorsy.
Mm-hmm.
But they need to lift things, need to be out there all day, need to be the kind of people who can take care of themselves and that they're like staying hydrated.
I tell you what, too, even if someone shows up to be part of your build crew and they can't lift things, there are so many things that need to be done. You can find a job for that person. Now, if you have 50 can't lift things and one that can lift, that's bad. But if one person shows up and they're like, I've got this broken wrist, or I'm a kid or an old dude or something like that, you can still find something for that person to do, and
Yep.
and they can make.
Untangle a rope or whatever. What you don't need is chatty Cathy's
Oh my God.
and oh, it's hot out.
And
Oh, it's muddy.
what's
Yeah, that's great. Come tomorrow.
yeah, exactly. And this is an area where you can get a lot of buy-in from the club board members.
Yep.
If you're in that situation, then they have the I guess experience of putting it on the match, the sense of accomplishment of like, hey, we built this stage, we helped with the match director build this stage. So that's another good way to get engagement from the board if you have one.
Guys who have enough time to be on a board generally have been retired and can be available on a Wednesday.
Yep.
And they want to help. They want to help because more often, how many board members have you ever seen shoot a gun?
Yeah. And
but
so
they're always at the range.
Exactly.
Give them something to do.
That is a great point, Adam. And then the other thing is, if they're board members, they're likely to be older, they're likely to be retired, they're likely to have skills that millennials don't, like how to use the skills. And they've got the tools. They want to bring them out. Like, yeah, I got a reciprocating saw. I'll bring that. And
I got it for Christmas. I hadn't even used it yet.
Yeah, exactly. And you can be like, hey, Bob, the board member, we need these walls built, so cut all these boards for this size and cut all those boards for that size. Boom, pile of lumber sitting right there. All right, buddy, screw them together. This is how they go. Boom.
They effing love that shit.
Yeah, exactly. So, and again, they have a lot of the guys have the skills to do it too. So, I think as we're going through this, Adam, I think another part of being a match director is discovering the skills and gifts of the people that want to help. That's
exactly what I was just going to say. All you would-be match directors out there, have an eye for, you're going to have all these people rotating around or, orbiting around your match. You see board member Bob rotating around, like, I bet that guy can cut straight lines.
Yeah, that guy's got overalls on. He can definitely cut straight lines.
That guy has toolboxes on his truck. Like, he's probably a tradesman.
Yep.
So yeah, you need to identify or, size up likely skill sets of a person and engage them in these ways. And that's kind of why we're going down this list too. So
yeah, I like that. Build crew, obviously super important. Okay, next one up here, we have the range master.
Yes. So now we're closing in on, we've actually constructed a match and now it's time. Shooters are here and we're actually going to run a match.
If you've only run or only shot club matches, you might not know that this role exists. And I was one of those people a long time ago. So what?
Or it's the same person.
Yeah. Well,
Sometimes
exactly. That's what I'm saying. You might not know it exists because generally, like club matches, the match director, the dude that's like, coordinating everything is also the range master.
Yeah. Tons of people came up to me about the Wisconsin match and we were like, you're the match director of Wisconsin, aren't you? I was like, no, I'm the range master.
Yeah.
And they didn't understand what that means. It's like, well, So range master is the head referee. Range master is the lead official. If we go back to the ball sports analogy, they're the white hat referee on the field. So all decisions regarding legality of stages, how things are going to be done, final sign-offs on written stage briefs, all things official to competition of the match.
Now, does the match director walk the stages and look for safety issues like DQ traps and stuff, or is that just a match director thing?
No, they both do it, but ultimately the range master has to enforce all this crap, right?
Right.
So like, for the extreme, they wanted to the Vortex Extreme, which is a long range precision hunting type match. They wanted everyone to show up as they travel. They wanted to have their packs on and stuff.
Oh, right.
I was the range master for that match. It's like, well, how am I going to enforce that? So it's like, okay, well, you have to start shooting the way you were when you were 50 yards away from the checkpoint.
Mm-hmm.
And, later people would tell me, oh, that's stupid. They could just stop at 50 yards and change it. It's like, well, yeah, but I had to arbitrarily decide how are we going to define this? You know, I need to be able to say in a way that you did this properly and you didn't do this properly. Thusly, you get a penalty and that person doesn't.
Yeah.
That's
that
range master stuff.
That reminds me, there was one dude, that there one team that was coming up hard on us, and they kept being, like, there were 2 shooters behind us, then there were 1 shooter behind us, then they were right behind us, and then they just passed us. But they were definitely moving at a better pace. But when they were right behind us, I got up off the ground, and the dude's like standing like right behind me. It's like, bro, you're on your wait time. Like, don't crowd me. And then so instead of saying that, I was like, is that how you ran here? Because he had his pack just on one arm, or just on one shoulder. I was like, is that how you ran here? And he looks down, and I was like, you could at least pretend. And he put his other shoulder on. I laughed so hard. I was laughing all the way till the next stage.
Yeah,
because I guilted him into putting his pack on. But side note,
Range
sorry.
Master, Range Master, head interpreter of all the rules. Basically.
Yeah.
Any controversial decision rise up to the Range Master and they decide it, and that's the end. Supreme Court.
Yeah, it's like the escalation, right? So if you're calling into customer service and you're a little snippy with the customer service representative, that is the next person you talk to is that's the range master role right there.
Yep. And you as a competitor, a competitor can call for a range master at any time, but that's also like a level of escalation when people don't really understand how this hierarchy works. And you ask, as a competitor, you ask for the range master. A lot of them are like, whoa, why? Because I want to talk to him. It's like, it's not personal. It's just how this works, bud.
Yeah. Well, so my whole thing, like if this sounds kind of silly. I had like a problem with a couch being delivered.
At a match?
No. Several months ago at my house. And I like talked on the phone to customer service several times, and it was like an ongoing thing, like where they just like they'd miss their window and then they wouldn't be there and blah 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 blah. So I was really upset. So by the 3rd time they missed their window, and they said they weren't going to be delivering my couch, but it was on a truck. I went down to the store, and the first person that greets you in a place like that is a salesperson because they're on commission, right? And so what I said was like, I'm really upset. So you can hear me being upset, or you can get me a manager, which is basically what the range master is like. Hey, I just want to talk to the range master because I'm pissed off, and I don't want to yell at you. So let me talk to the range master.
Yep. And I'll quote Travis Gibson on that, or at least something that Travis Gibson wrote on a whiteboard. That person's job is to argue with shooters, not the ROs.
Yeah.
So like people probably heard me say it a few times at various briefings that were put out publicly, but it's like, don't yell at the ROs. You can yell at the range master all you want because that's his job. Things that range master should have, probably thick skin.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. I would say one of the better range masters I've ever seen is Aaron Hayes, because he has such a calm and laid back attitude. And his thing is just like we were talking about for customer service, is like he wants to hear that person's side of it, because often just saying it out loud will remove the anger from it. They just want to be heard, right?
Yep.
And then in the course of talking it, they may talk themselves into the proper conclusion as well. So Aaron, I think, does a really good job of that. He's not argumentative in real life. On on Facebook he is, but
but this person should not be argumentative.
No,
they should be able to have an argument or be in an argument, but they should not be argumentative.
Right. They should be able to be in an argument without raising their voice, without accusing anyone of anything, just sticking to like the facts of like the rule book, and walking someone through it. It's like, well, what is the rule? The easiest one is like, well, what does the rule book say? Go and read it together. Well, this says that. Is that what happened? Yes. Okay, here's the conclusion that the rule book says. Now we both know what it is. We both agree on the outcome. DQ's overturned, DQ's upheld, penalties overturned, penalties upheld, whatever it is. But you can both agree upon it.
Yep. Yes. So, the not argumentative, but being able to be in that type of confrontational conversation. It takes pretty much every trick I learned in customer care to be a range master
Yeah.
sometime. But because you're going to be there, they're going to be hot, and not escalating the situation, because escalating is the worst thing you can do. You need to be objective. Okay,
Yeah.
so there's the rules. You need to know the rules. Man, pet peeve: range masters who don't know the rules.
Mm-hmm.
It's frustrating, and it's a little bit fun at the same time.
I also think de-escalation, like you just said, de-escalation is like 100%
Yes.
a desirable. I mean,
Yes.
if you're just gonna go and talk to someone and piss them off worse, range master is not the
No.
role for you.
Nope. Person who yells first loses. So, like, if your range master is going to be that guy, don't be that guy.
Yeah, yeah. Also, note for all you young people out there: in corporate America, first person to swear loses. It doesn't matter if you're right or wrong.
Very true. Very true. But yeah, knows the rules, and then you want a person who's impartial, so they can objectively decide something. You can hear both sides. You can hear
Yeah.
two compelling arguments. You'll have a range officer who's trying to justify their call to you, and you have a competitor who feels wronged by them. Both may be your friend.
Yeah.
Well, one may be your friend, one may be a stranger. The one who's wrong might be the one who's right might be the stranger. Being able to keep a cool head through all that, that's range master.
I would also say that it's probably a good idea that your range master does not shoot the match, because if the range master needs to make a decision, like on a penalty or a DQ or something like that, or on a stage malfunction for a reshoot or whatever, you don't want them to be making that decision on one of their competitors, their competition,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Like if Max and I are both shooting TAC ops, and let's say open, because that's a new hotness. If Max and I are shooting open,
Wait, you're shooting open now?
we'll talk later.
Okay.
No, if Max and I are both shooting the same division, and I have to go to hear Max argue that a penalty be removed from his score, no matter if I'm right or if I'm wrong, or if the rules are right or if the rules are wrong, and I say like, no, the penalty stands, the perception is that I did that to protect my own score in the match.
Right.
Right. And furthermore, if you have a range master who's not like some of the positive examples that we've been talking about here, they can manipulate the match for their own gain.
Oh yes.
So you want to remove that opportunity for them, and
that's been a struggle for me, because I really like being range master. I'm also addicted to shooting. So we put on a really fun event, like I want to shoot it. So I've done it a few ways. In the beginning of the Kirkwald match, the first few times when I shot the shoot off, I would start part of the briefing. I would delegate somebody, like, when I'm shooting, Brent will decide all things that involve me, or Mark Peters or something. I was like, if anything happens that involves me, I am going to recuse myself, and Brent is going to decide, and he will be the final say on anything that has to do with me. The other way I did it, probably more applicable to a major match, and I posted this publicly, and some people didn't get it.
Oh, you deleting your score?
Yeah, so like I shot the Wisconsin match. I wanted to see what my scores were. I waited until the end because I wanted to see like where I fell, like how it compared to everybody else. I proofed all the stages, so I went first because I knew I was going to do this. So I went first and shot them all, got all the way to the end. But at the end, I publicly DQ'd myself. And
Yeah.
I did that. And DQ'd myself in that I went into practice score and hit DQ. I didn't commit a DQable offense, but I removed myself from the scores, and I didn't take a prize off the prize table for the way that I finished. And I think that's a precedent that I would invite other range masters to follow as well. I wouldn't say that they can't shoot, because we all like to shoot. So like telling somebody can't shoot's kind of sacrificial. But I think if you're going to be a range master and if you're going to claim impartiality, you have to remove your score from the mix. Otherwise, even if it didn't have a bearing, the person who has the perception that it did, that's all that matters.
Yep.
Perception, reality. If that person thinks you're biased, that's
enough.
That's a political fight you can't win.
Yeah.
So
when we were doing the blast and dash, one of the things that Mike and I talked about was that specific thing of like, okay, well, who is not going to be scored and who is not going to get a prize table or a prize. So that's one thing that Mike and I did is like, okay, nobody but Mike and I touch the prizes, put them on the table, like organize them, have control over them as far as like maintaining them before the match, during the match. We were the only two. And so when we did the exact same thing you did. By the way, I think DNF is a better option instead of DQ, because then the internet won't think you DQ'd the match. But we ran it. We ran the match. We shot the match. We saw where we stacked up. And I wish I'd taken a photo of it. Now that I think about it, I never did to see like where we actually finished. But we looked at that, and then we handed the scoring pad back to Chris Eggleston, who's our scorekeeper, and said, "All right, remove Mike and I." And then we did. And then we're not in there. So, and then no decision that we made throughout the match, which luckily we didn't have to make any, which was kind of cool. No decision that we made throughout the match could be construed to be protecting our placing in the match. I sought consultation from several match directors and range masters that I respect, Aaron Hayes being one of those people, and had several conversations with him about it. And that's something that Texas 3-gun does, because Texas multi-gun, which was the predecessor to that match, was incredibly corrupt and went away because it was corrupt. Many prizes were stolen off the table, scores were fixed, and things like that. So Texas 3-gun said, we're going to be the complete opposite. We're going to remove any sort of temptation to do any sort of wrongdoing. And then I think a lot of people have followed that model since, and it's one that I 100% agree with.
Yep. And also, just to not, all you would-be range masters out there, a lot of the really yucky stuff that range masters have to do is easily mitigated by work on the front end. So the more work a range master puts into written stage briefs and being transparent about the rules and selecting CROs, the more front end work you do, the fewer crappy decisions you have to make later. Because good stage design, good stage descriptions, proper adherence to the rules, that's when one of those three things doesn't happen, that's where you end up with a competitor, an upset competitor, and a call, a subjective call, not an objective, a subjective call by a range officer. And then you got to sort it out. And then you have to figure out if everyone else was, called that way. How do you define a fair and equal chance? In that sense, and a lot of that stuff is mitigated on the front end, so that you don't have to get into those situations. So range masters who put in work on the front end generally don't have to be put into awkward situations during the match, because a lot of groundwork is laid. It's just like, well, here's what the stage brief said. Did you do that? No, I didn't do that. Okay, well, if you didn't do it and this said you had to do it, then there's a penalty for that, and that's all there is to it.
Cut and dry.
Yep. So, a lot of proofing on the front end, checking for shoot throughs, all that stuff. That's range master work that you don't necessarily see the day of, and the more of it that a range master does on the front end, the less they have to do during the match, and then people just think they're the four-wheeler guy that drives around.
Right. Which I do notice that you always have your four-wheeler. Anyway, Mr. Fix-It is up next. What is Mr. Fix-It? It's right in the name, but
Right?
what is that role?
Yeah, it's not my favorite name, but
Is
it's
that
just kind
is
of
that
a
another
fun
Bob
thing.
the Board member kind of thing?
Kind of. It's usually the guy. That's the guy who knows where everything is, and has like a working knowledge of the club and where things are kept and where the supplies are.
Yeah,
But
including
essentially-
like screws, screw guns, poppers, replacement targets, etc., etc.
Yep. Yep, and this guy's handy, so he can fix things and he can fix them on the fly.
And fast.
And he's fast because if a stage is down, that starts to mess with the matrix of scheduling, and that's how stages turn into bottlenecks. So pretty much anything on your stage that moves is potentially something that could break. This person needs to know how to fix those things.
Where the backup is.
Where the backup is,
The replacement target.
Yep. They need to know where the tools are, if they need to cut new lath or where the new lath are. Generally speaking, if we were to talk about people who have a vehicle at the match, this person generally has a vehicle because they generally have it stocked with common tools, replacement bolts, spare lath, more staples, things like that. A quartermaster type person, probably a more proper name for it. But this person is especially when the match is running, this person is the coordinator of all things inanimate, all equipment is this person. This can be a standalone job, like at Iron Man. I remember back in the day, that was a full-time job.
Yeah,
keeping things running. But matches that don't have as many mechanized or circus type targets, it becomes less and less important and more something that somebody else can do in addition to something else. But you need to have somebody on your staff with an eye towards this kind of thing if your range props fail during the match, so that everyone who hasn't shot yet can still get a fair and equal chance to run the stage.
In Colorado, Brian Brandow is typically, or I guess several times he's been Mr. Fix-It guy, and he's awesome. Because like I said, he's fast. He can fix anything. He knows where everything is, and he has a sense of urgency, right?
Yep.
One of the other things I would say is like creativity, right? So he's creative. So in the last Colorado 3-Gun Championships, this is one small example. There was I think it was the Texas Star that was sending jackets over into the next bay, and that was where a class was being held. And so they came over and said, like, hey, we're getting jackets over here. And they wanted us to pull that target. It was like, no, this is second day of a 2-day match. We can't pull that target. And so they're trying to get us to shut the stage down. It's like, no, we're not going to do that either. So Brian, being the creative person that he is, simply put plywood behind that target that would catch all the jackets. And it's like, now we didn't have to move the target. We didn't have to pull the target. We didn't have to throw out the stage. Like just being creative. Like there's always another option out there. And if your Mr. Fix-It guy is one of those creative people that can engineer through problems like that, that's a big benefit.
100%.
Bravo, Brian. This is also a person that like generally is driving like a pickup truck. This isn't like is this a UTV job? I don't know. Because sometimes like you got to move like a wall or something big.
Yeah, it depends.
Yeah.
That's geographically dependent, I guess.
All right. Next up is what you know at a match. These are roles that you actually do know. Some of these other ones that we've been talking about you may not know, but this is the range officer team. And we've got we call it a team because there's generally two people. There's the dude run the timer, dude run the score pad, right?
Mm-hmm.
So dude run the timer, generally we call them the CRO.
Yeah.
Which
generally
speaking, chief range officer.
Yep. And that kind of comes from USPSA. USPSA will say this person is in charge. So they have a hierarchy of appeals. And so there is a person on the stage who is the greatest authority you can appeal to on the stage. And then that person is, from there you have to go to the range master, things like that. So the term CRO or chief range officer is used sometime. But generally speaking, as a match director or a range master, when you're delegating these people out, you have a handful of people who are squared away, who's like, all right, this guy knows how to run a stage. This guy knows the rules, blah, blah, blah.
Very experienced person, right?
Very experienced. So you have a select group of them, and then you kind of have another outer ring of people who are less experienced or not confrontational, don't want to make decisions, but want to help. So you're knowledgeable, decisive, fair people. They tend to be CROs. CROs, generally, that's the guy who's going to read the stage brief, and then actually run the timer. So a range officer is the one who runs the timer, whether they be a chief range officer or just a range officer. But that person has, well, now we say 3 jobs. That person is in charge of making sure that the range is safe, so that nothing you do is dangerous, and that you're following the rules and all that kind of thing. They are the person who determines scores, so that person is going to assess penalties based on what you do. And then that person is also has in terms of a major match, has a customer service role of like not being a dick.
Yep.
So, so they, you gotta be nice to people.
Yeah, that's
day and age.
2016 when I started like traveling to major matches and covering them for the show. I feel like there was a lot more dicks back then.
There were,
and
100%.
I think talking about them on the show either has made executive match staff, range master, match director, change those people into other roles where they don't have to necessarily interface with customers, has made them change their behavior, or they're just nicer to me because they don't want me to talk shit about them on the show. And I haven't quite figured out
the same.
I haven't quite figured out what that is yet, but I feel like talking about it and saying like, look, you don't need to be an asshole to competitors. These are your customers. These are people that have spent significant amount of money to be here. There's no reason to be rude or abrasive to them. I feel like that landscape has changed, and there's much nicer people in those roles now.
I think the landscape has changed. I would say a lot of that also is due to the evolution of our sport, that, a lot more of the people who are competing in the sport now have an eye towards competitive excellence, so they don't take these subjective calls. They don't put up with vague answers. So I think some of that too, I think the community demands more of range masters than they used to. And I think they put up with a lot less in terms of crap that just kind of was accepted. There's kind of that military mentality in the beginning of like, oh, well, this is just how it is. And, I'll just embrace the suck or whatever. And I think now with world-class athletes being at the top of the sport, it's kind of like, no, that's not how that works.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have to say, it's like, if I wanted to be I always joke around, like if I wanted to be treated poorly, I'd go to work. So, at least I used to joke about that, but there's
relate.
I'm sorry.
I said I don't relate.
Yeah, good for you, buddy. Like I don't understand why that was a thing, and I'm so happy that it's less of a thing now, and there's actually respect from the competitors for the range officers and respect from the range officers for the competitors as being human and all here for the same thing, because we love shooting 3-gun.
Yep. Absolutely.
Cool. Any other roles and responsibilities you want to talk about in range officer?
Range officers also have to have an eye towards time. So they need to have an eye towards resetting, things like that. You don't have to be a dick to get people to reset, but there is a certain amount of like allowing guns to be cleared if that's safe to do. Ushering shooters to the line, making sure you can set the tone for how things go. You don't have to ball around, but setting the tone for the group to be ready, And then there's also things that you can do or not do that will slow things down. If you insist that you need to watch every single gun get unloaded, depending on where those dump boxes are, that will take time.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes time for every shooter, and it leads to bottlenecks. And bottlenecks are the headache of administration people, and they're not fun for the competitors. So we don't have to hustle everybody through, but everybody wants their turn to shoot. So keep the chatty Cathys out resetting. Make sure it's not the same 3 people out resetting all the time. Making sure that the on deck shooters are ready to go. Making sure that kind of setting the tone or the suggestion of, hey, have your stuff ready. And then also the safety around, okay, well, let's get the guns cleared, let's get them in a safe direction, so that the reset can go on, but with an eye towards all those things that need to happen and keep it flowing. That's an important skill for a range officer too.
Yeah, and then one of the things I would say is just understanding that when people arrive, when your next squad arrives to the stage, they don't know what's gone on your entire day. So clearing out the previous squad from your head and treating these people as individuals works well. There's been a ton of stages I've gone to where they're like, you saw the last squad shoot. We're not going to give you the walkthrough. We gotta hurry this through. It's like, no. You are gonna give us a walkthrough, and you're gonna calm down a little bit because we're squared away, and we will make your life easier. But only if you don't be a dick, as Pete likes to say.
Yep. That's all you got to do to be a good range officer. Don't be a dick.
Mm-hmm. The other thing I would say about range officer is it's a very tiring job, especially on like big jungle running stages, because you're following that competitor all the way down to the end and then repeat for 199 more shooters.
Yep. And before we move on, this is kind of one of those jobs where it was kind of said a couple times this season by various people, like, I understand you need ROs, but I want an important job. Like, this is one of the most important jobs at the match.
Yeah, for sure.
Because you need at least 10 of these people, probably 20, and every single competitor is going to have an interaction with this person.
Yeah.
So when you're selecting who these people are, remember, every single competitor is going to have an experience. It may be a forgettable experience, or it may be the only thing they remember.
Mm-hmm.
So keep an eye towards that, but it's very important. So kind of part of wanting to do this episode, people think like to help with the match, you have to RO. No, we're spelling out all these other jobs that you can do, but this is a very important job, and we need a lot of people who are able to do this job to have matches on the scale that the community currently does.
Absolutely. I think that's a really important point and a good place to end that one. So scorekeeper.
This can be a person. I mean, it doesn't take much. This is if you have people who are like, I want to help, but I don't know how, or I don't know what to do. It's 2019. Everybody can run a touchpad.
This is also like, I want to RO. Can my wife come with me? Like,
yep.
Shit, yeah. Does your wife wife know how to use an iPad?
Yeah, exactly. So this
don't necessarily need to know or like the game.
Yep. Doesn't have to be in front. Doesn't even have to stand in the sun. Like, this just, taking down, running a tablet, calling out a shooting order. Well, so jobs are taking the score, so getting the time, assessing the penalties as they're called out, showing it to the shooter for approval, filling out paper if your match is into that kind of thing, and then calling out the shooting order every time, all day long. That's all you got to do. Just run that pad, call out the shooting order, make sure the on-deck shooter's ready to go. It's a pretty straightforward job. Generally speaking, there's not a lot of confrontational stuff, and if it does get confrontational, that person just kind of looks at the CRO.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, and then like, all right, what's your problem? Because that person's probably the one who gave them 3 procedurals and 2 mics.
Yeah,
you know.
the other thing I would say is like you need as a scorekeeper, you need to be I don't think you need to be loud, but you need to speak in your outside voice because most everyone has earplugs in and
Yeah.
most everyone or I guess a lot of people don't have electronic earplugs, right? So you need to say Dave is up, Adam is on deck, Jim's in the hole. And it's like
Yep.
I need to hear that in an outside voice cuz I can't hear
Yep.
I can't hear period. and then I got earplugs in.
Talker doesn't have to be obnoxious about it, but yes, needs to say it above a whisper.
Yep. Best practices, I would say, like as a scorekeeper, put eyes on. Like if you say, Dave is up, Adam is on deck, Jim's in the hole. Look at Dave. Does Dave have his shit? Look at Adam. Does Adam have his shit? Maybe Jim. Maybe we need to know if Jim's getting ready or like, hey, you go get ready. He heard his name.
Yep.
Like, don't just shout him out and then, or I guess don't just whisper him out and then go sit in the shade again. Make yourself known.
Yep. Especially at matches like now, so it seems like most people have their name on their shirt. It's not required, but at a lot of the matches we're talking about, that's kind of what's going on. So this person can be like the guy who has Kupka on the back of his shirt. Like, yeah, you're on deck. Do you know? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Or here's an easy one. If you don't know who the people on the squad are, who's Adam?
Well, exactly. And for folks who want to help or want to get in this community, want to make friends, want to learn names.
Oh yeah.
This
is a great way to do it.
Yeah. I'm terrible with names. Absolutely terrible with names. The only way I really get to know names is to run the score sheet. Otherwise, I'm going to forget.
Dude, pro tip, this is going to be one of those things where people say people tend to make comments to me about stuff I've said on the podcast and I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, like cuz I just forget them. But when I have the score pad, I love doing the score pad because or the scorekeeping because if I'm shooting with new people, especially at a club match, and I don't know their name and they're wearing a t-shirt that doesn't have their name on it and they just said, I'm Jim, and then walked away, it's like, shit, I already forgot that guy's name. But if I have the score pad, I can just I have an excuse now to go, Jim? And then Jim definitely some of the time will look, right? Okay. That guy's Jim. All right, cool. Now I can remember that guy's name. So
then I usually look at what kind of guns he has because that's how I remember people.
Yeah, me too. I'm guns or cars.
I'm really sorry. If you're listening to the show and you're going to come up to me someday, I remember what guns you have more than your name. So you're trying to put those two together.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I am with cars. Like when I go someplace, it's like, oh, okay, Aaron's here, Jay's here, Ben's here, you know? Like, all right.
But yeah, scorekeeper, very important job. Doesn't require a lot of output.
Doesn't require a whole lot of rule knowledge.
Nope.
You can do it without knowing the rules. It's better if you know them, but if you don't and you're not a practical shooter, but you want to hang out with a significant other for a day, this is a good way to do it.
Great way to hang out. Great way to springboard into other things. It's a great place to learn. If you want to go into other things, you can be as passive or active with it as you want to be.
Yeah.
You can
in all these roles for sure too.
Yeah. You can learn how to RO. You can learn how to shoot. I mean, you got a front row seat to everything that's going on.
Yeah.
If you want to.
I would also add that, and this has been said on the show so many times, being a range officer or a scorekeeper is a wonderful way to learn the game. And if you passively, you know, like you said, if you just sit there and suck on Otter Pops and drink your Diet Coke under the shade, you're not going to learn a lot. But if you observe the best shooters out there, the fastest guys that are shooting your stage, watch what they do, watch the steps they take, watch why they do, or ask them why they do something after the stage, you're going to learn a ton.
Yeah. Or you're going to see them do it, and then you're going to see everybody else do it another way, and then you're going to be like, well, that was dumb. Jerry did it this other way. Why did that person run way over there? so that you can the contrast is something that you can observe on that stage and definitely see that kind of thing.
Yep. The other thing I would say about range officer and scorekeeper is, again, that integrity. Pretty much we want integrity from all the staff, but you have to be willing to give Adam a 5-second penalty if Adam deserves that 5-second penalty. You don't remove penalties for your bros, and you don't -2 your bros, and you don't +2 guys that you want to see losing. The scoring is paramount in this game because that's how we decide who wins.
Well, it's a game. Yeah, we're playing a game.
So scoring is super important, and integrity amongst an RO crew is super important as well.
Yeah, and there's running out of words to articulate how important it is that we need a lot of these people to run for matches to exist. This is kind of one of those deals where we've talked about on the show before. Like, pick. I think I would invite the community to accept this standard. I think you should volunteer if you're on the national circuit. If you go to a significant number of matches in a year, pick one that you're going to work at.
Mm-hmm. One at minimum.
Pick a major match, or be involved on some level with your club match, because this doesn't happen without people. So, and these are the kind of people that we need a lot of. It's really easy to get involved at this level, but pick something on this list that we're talking about and get involved with at least one, to give something back to the sport so that everybody can enjoy the sport, because we can't. There are pockets of the country where it's the same group of guys, and some of them are getting burned out.
Yeah.
So we need to spread this around a little bit in the community. There needs to be a little bit of give for the amount of take that a lot of us have. So
100% agree. And like we said, there's a role for everyone. So if you want to help out but you don't know what you want to do, go talk to the match director. Tell them, hey, in my day job, I am an accountant. I'm really good with numbers, but I'm not so good at building walls. Holy shit! Now we got a guy to manage our costs on the match.
Yep.
Like, there are a lot of small things that you think are insignificant that you do that can really help with someone who's not good at it.
Yep.
Like the baking cookies thing. If you're into cookies and you don't know how to bake, someone who knows how to bake cookies is super valuable to you. So,
yep. And I'm gonna ad lib another job in here that we didn't write down.
We got 3 more, buddy.
I know, but we don't have a practice score person.
Oh, yeah,
So
stats guy.
You do
Forgot about
need
stats
a
guy.
stats guy on your staff. Somebody who understands how the program works. It's not super complicated, but there are parts of it that are mysterious if you haven't done it before.
Yep.
So you need somebody with an eye towards keeping all the iPads charged, making sure they're synced, building the match and practice score, publishing the scores when it's done.
Sometimes driving around and syncing the iPads mid-match to to maintain scores in case the battery dies on that that iPad or whatever.
Yep. I think the best statistician that ever was, I think, is Jomar Villamore. Just like right under Ken Nelson and his staff.
I'll see your Jomar and I'll raise you a Chris Eggleston. That guy is awesome.
I might even know who that is and just not know him by name. But yes, there's guy when you get a stats guy, like, they're into it.
Yeah.
Like, Jomar will do stats for matches that he doesn't even shoot.
Yeah.
He just wants the scores to be out, and he wants them posted quick.
Chris did the same thing. So so Chris is now the match director of Colorado 3-Gun Championship. But last year when we did that blast and dash, he showed up and did our stats and didn't shoot the match. And it was so incredibly valuable to have him there. So Mike and I could not think about that and think about the things that we needed to think about that day. And with with the match that we were doing, it was a run and gun, and it was a new module in Practice Core that I think had only been used once at Rock Castle. So we were kind of like, okay, well, we know Practice Core and how it works in a normal environment, but we're not sure exactly how this is going to work. And Chris just looked at it and he was like, oh yeah, no problem, I got this, and just bing, 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 and it was
I don't even know how they do what they do, but they do it.
Yeah, it was absolutely incredible, and it was such a relief for Mike and I. Mike's not like too technically savvy, and I just didn't. I had more things to think about than that. Didn't want to do that, and Chris came in and rocked it. So having I can't believe I forgot this, but having a stats guy or a stats person is paramount. All right, buddy. Next up, we have media. Now, this is something that matches have not been doing for very long.
Correct. Yeah, definitely a new thing.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of matches happen in a bubble, and nothing ever gets outside of that bubble. And I think there's probably a lot of like contributing reasons, but I think one of the reasons is that as firearms owners, we're taught to be like cautious about what we talk about. You know, does that make sense? Like,
Yep.
You never talk about how many guns you have. You don't talk about where they're stored and things like that. And there's, a multitude of reasons, but I think that kind of thought process like permeates into 3-gun and keeping matches kind of like secret. Also, it's a big job. There's a shitload of work that goes into it, and I don't think that it's something that a match director can do effectively on their own and also do everything else a match director needs to do.
I would agree. I think match directors should be involved in it. It's something they're definitely contributing to. So sometimes they wear this hat, but to do this adequately, I don't think a match director can do it. I think it's a full-time position at a match that a person should be going around and doing these things. That's hard to do, and like it's kind of hard for me, not being a creative person. It's kind of hard to give direction to these kind of people. I just know like there's a lot of stuff you can do, and like the more of it you do, the cooler it looks. So like whatever you think is good, like go do that. You know,
that is verbatim a conversation that you and I have had before.
Yeah, more than once.
Yeah, so I actually do a lot of media for matches, both as Dave and also behind the scenes. So people may not know that. So that is something I do. And hey, little plug, I can help you with that. So if any of the stuff that we're about to talk about right now is something that you want to include in your match and you don't want to do, you can definitely hire me to do it. So number one, I would say is a match photographer. And this can be as simple as, hey, does somebody's mom have a DSLR camera with a zoom lens and like to take photos? Can you get your mom to come out here and take photos of us? Mom, wife, brother, anything. Who do you know that does it as a hobby, right? And any photos that person takes with a good camera is going to be better than a cell phone camera that's taken from 30 yards away, because we can't necessarily get closer to people shooting. Now, obviously, hiring a professional photographer, someone that does it for a living, is the ideal. Those people do come with a bigger price tag. So you need to worry about that as well if your match budget can't handle it. But having photos from the match, specifically like trophy photos, good photos of shooters doing cool shit near sponsor banners and stuff like that, that is good for your match's social media. It helps publicize the match. It makes a bigger deal out of your match. It provides more value to your sponsors that we talked about earlier, and it makes your shooters share your stuff, right? So if I see a photo of me from a match, I'm absolutely sharing that like right away. Like, hey, everybody, look at me. And there's the Amax. Have you ever run a 5K?
No, I'm fat.
Sorry. So I've run a ton of road races and obstacle races, and they always have photographers there. You got your little bib number, right? So you go home and you type your little bib number into the interface that the race has, and then all these photos of you come up. And a lot of times they're free. A lot of times you have to pay for them. Just depends on how their model goes. But now I have a picture of me crawling out of a mud pit at the Spartan race, looking tired as hell, and I could post that on Facebook and be like, hey, here's what I did this weekend. So that is the type of mentality that matches should be into of showing the good times that we're having to other people that were not there at the match.
Yes, I would say the goals of the photographer and all the social media people is to make this look like the biggest thing that everybody missed out on. So you got to make it look 10 times cooler than maybe even it is. So capturing all of that, but then at the same time to do what Dave's talking about, you need to get you can't just get a cool picture of one person doing one thing. You need a cool picture of every person. You know, like every person is going to go look and see like, well, did they get any cool ones of me? And like, no one's going to say anything if you didn't, probably. But like, there's a difference between like, man, the reach of the match and, you know, the return to the photographer if they're selling their services. Of you don't want a person to go to that portfolio and not find a cool picture of themselves.
Yeah,
you know, that they can share. And then part of the trick with photographers is like, there's a lot of photographers out there. There's a lot of really good photographers out there. Aren't very many really good photographers out there that are shooters and understand what we think is cool.
Yeah, and where they can stand, where they're not going to be shot or interfere with the stage, etc.
Yep. So they don't know necessarily where to stand. They don't know the angles that look. They don't understand that we think it's cool if you get a picture of us with the brass coming out of our gun.
Yep.
Totally lost on anyone who doesn't shoot.
Or if it's low light and there's sparks coming out of the comp, like snap away.
Right. But someone from this community will sit there and they will snap, 20, 50, 60 pictures on burst mode trying to get that picture for you.
Absolutely.
Or they're really good at it and they don't have to do that much. They just know how to get it. But like, and when you're looking for a photographer, you're looking for a person who understands cameras. Like when Dave said the thing about I don't know what any of that means. That must be what I sound like when I talk about guns. But you need a person who like knows what that is and knows what they're hunting for. Cause like, true story, like when we went to the Kirkwald, we forgot Rachel was going to do the photography for us. She forgot her camera at home. We went home in Madison, Wisconsin, and we're up in Minneapolis, Minnesota. We went to National Camera Exchange and rented a camera. Okay.
Yeah.
Like I was like, and we went in there and she's like, what? And I'm like, whatever you need, whatever. I don't know what any of this BS is. You just get the one you need and tell me how much it costs. Like, that's the one we're getting. So she's like, okay. And then she rattles off some shit that I need a Mark 18 with the suppressor and a 1:6 scope on the top of it. And then this guy produces a camera and she rattled off a bunch of jargon and this guy slid open the glass case and set it down and handed me a really big invoice. I was like, whoa,
that is a sweet ass camera though.
Yeah. Then we learned all about people who are like stealing rental cameras and stuff like that. And apparently that's a whole thing.
That's a thing?
Oh yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. People rent cameras and then never bring them back and sell them on the black market.
Oh, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah. That's why they make the security deposit is the cost of the camera.
Mm.
They refund you when you bring it back.
Yikes.
But yeah, it was, that was an important thing. It was no, I need a camera. Where can we go get one? Shout out to National Camera Exchange for offering that kind of service. But, we did it because it's important in this day and age to both promote your event. if you're promoting sponsors, which most events are, and for the people want to share their participation in the sport. And even talk about outreach, Second Amendment type stuff. You
Yep.
want to normalize this kind of thing, you need a picture of not weird people doing athletic things with guns and share it out in the world.
Yep.
The more of that we have, the better. So that's what makes photographer, especially if you have someone in your circle who's photographically inclined, like, that person, in my mind, that person, okay, you have a rare and mysterious skill that gets you out of our own.
Well, so this is exactly what we were talking about earlier about if you have a skill, go and talk to the match director, because what may seem simple to you is difficult for other people. Again, like with the accounting, like if you offer to do my books, like you're my new best friend, but if you want to come and post stuff on my Instagram, is like, I can do that, unless your ability to do it is so much better that I'm embarrassed, I'm going to let you do it.
Yeah. And that's one of the things. And again, back to this podcast, like, I've had photographers be like, well, I want to do something important. Take photography. Well, I know I can take pictures, but like, is there anything important you want me to do? Like, that's one of the most important things you can do.
Yeah.
Is to make, to capture, this is just a flash in the pan. This is a snapshot in time. Like, the more of this you can capture, the more the magic is compounded of what we love about 3-gun, and being able to savor it for years to come. Like, oh, remember that one time we shot the cool match in the place, and like, oh yeah, look at this.
Yep.
Remember when I had a quad rail on my rifle? Check that out.
Yeah. The one thing I would say though, we're crossing over into like professional things, right? RO, being an RO is not a profession generally. Now we're crossing over into professional things. So as a photographer, like if your agreement with the match is that the photos are theirs, you got to let them have them. You can't like go shake people down for additional fees if they want that photo of themselves, right? If your agreement with the match is that you will show up, take photos, and sell your photos, that's cool too. That just needs to be an agreement that happens up front, right?
Yep.
And so know that as a match director, when you're reaching out to a person, is like, that's what this person does for a living, so respect that, right? Like,
maybe, not all photographers are professional photographers.
100% true. 100% true. And in the specific case I'm talking about is like a professional photographer.
Right.
Ideally, you get someone who is, again, like I said, someone who's a super hobbyist that needs fodder for their own portfolio, right?
Yep.
Tell you what, as so I work a lot in marketing and media. One of the best things I've ever heard is go to your local college, go to the art department, ask for the photographer, the photography professor, and then see if they have students that need something to do. That's one way of finding a low cost or a photographer if you don't know any.
Yeah. So there's various ways, to do it. But a photographer is, it's an important job. It's a person who, either gets a free match slot to the thing, or, they're selling their wares or whatever they're doing. But it's important to have a photographer, someone who is taking pictures beyond what's in camera phone, if at all possible, to get one.
Hopefully in focus. Focus is always good.
Yes.
I say like having a gun, having something is better than nothing. So like there's obviously levels of photographer.
Oh yeah.
But having someone dedicated to that is better than nothing.
Right.
So, next up we got social media guy or gal.
Yes.
This is a comprehensive position that starts way before the match.
Right.
So this includes putting out on Facebook like, hey, our dates are this. By the way, pro tip, never ever post just words on Facebook. Always include a photo. So if you have a photo from your 2018 match and you're announcing your 2019 match, that is ideal. All right. So you want to have something for people to look at because that's what people look at. So this person may also work with your email list to notify shooters, hey, this match is coming up. You shot it last year. Do you want to shoot the match again? Here is the link to go shoot that match, that kind of thing. So they can perform a lot of different functions. They're going to be highlighting all your sponsors as prizes come in and as you get new sponsors on. So this requires a lot of coordination with other areas of the match, including prize table coordinator, match director, range master, etc. Having content during the match is sometimes tricky because we shoot in areas where there's not necessarily cell phone coverage or Wi-Fi. But if it's not real time, like if it's not a video or a photo was taken at 10 a.m. and it was posted at 10 a.m., it needs to be that day or that night, because that keeping your match in other people's minds during the match is paramount, and including tagging all your sponsors, thanking all them and stuff like that for the match. That lets the match sponsors know that like something's happening. We're getting love and kudos on social media. You're creating excitement about it for all the people that weren't there. You're creating new leads for coming to your match next year. All kinds of benefits to having a social media person. And it, again, this needs to be like a dedicated person. Like if you've got Mr. Fix-It guy is also going to run social media, he's going to do one of those really shitty.
Yep. 100%. So yeah, and that's like I have to yield the days of expertise on this. It's something I don't know particularly well and understand. I just know that it's important.
Yeah.
And I try to get it to people who, fortunately for me, there's a couple people in my life who are really good at it. One of them is Dave.
Hey.
The other is my significant other, Rachel. She's really good at it too. But like, I was like, let me know what you need from me. But like whatever that thing, just make it big. Like whatever you need to do. Like, well, do you have the Instagram account? No, we don't have an Instagram account. Well, can I make one? Yes, make it.
Yeah.
Like whatever you want. Whatever you want, do it.
Yeah, and that requires some thinking outside of the box on the behalf of the social media person, because you do run into a lot of match directors who are like Adam is like, I know I need that. I don't know how to make that. I don't know how to get that. So Adam, I think you and I actually work pretty well together on this one. We've done it for several years. You were actually the first person to hire me to go to a match, I think. Pretty sure.
Oh, we're going to be public about that now? Yes.
Oh, yeah. Are we not public about that?
I have never said it.
Oh, my bad. So, yeah, you're the first person to hire me to go to a match, I believe, and create like excitement and hype. And that was the Kirkwald 3 years ago. The Kirkwald has grown and grown and grown. Now it's a thing that we do. It's a piece of content that people look forward to on the show. The shooters love having the 3-gun show there. We talk about them live as they're shooting and things. Like it has added a whole lot to the event.
Yeah, absolutely. And other events too. Like, I mean, it's both content for the show and it's conventional, like right now you're listening to a show based on an event that we were at. Like, I think that's important. And then, I mean, ultimately I'd like it to be like ESPN, like, the 3-gun show is just kind of like there's Sports Center of the events that went on that week. And that's what I think makes events cool, because there's lots of matches that happen and nobody really heard about them.
Yeah.
I'm going to go out on a limb because I'm guilty of not always paying attention to social media, but like Memorial 3-gun was a really cool match that happened. I couldn't tell you anything that happened there other than a couple videos that Josh Tarrant posted.
I know there was a helicopter, and that's about it.
Yeah,
and
if there was a helicopter there should be like 2,000 pictures and videos of three gunners and helicopters.
Yeah, and
Like, it
and
shouldn't be
Memorial
like, I think there was a helicopter there.
and
Like, was it
Memorial
a
3-gun was put on, or I guess Eric Eckhart was the match director. And
Right.
that is a fantastic shooter. That is a really
Yes.
intelligent person, and that is
Yes.
a wonderful stage designer. He does a lot of great things.
Mhm.
So how have we not seen a whole lot about it?
120 people know how cool it was.
Yeah, which is unfortunate, and not to pick
It
on
is
Memorial 3-gun
unfortunate.
specifically, but we're saying like,
I just know it was really cool, and I don't know much about it.
yeah, and it's
And
like
that's
the whole rising. It is a tragedy. That's exactly what it is. It's like we feel bad and we want to help, but like the idea of like the rising tide raises all ships. Like the more promotion that that we do for matches as individuals, like promoting it to your friends, to your family, on your Instagram and your Facebook and things like that, the more people that we can get excited about this. And then if you get one person to say, hey man, can I do that? Then like, oh cool, we got another one. And like we keep doing that and doing that. It's like, so demonstrate how awesome this is. But as a match, you can do much more. And Texas 3-gun does a really great job of this. They have a dude dedicated to social media. It's Garrison England. It's one of the few matches that do have a person dedicated to it, and their reach is absolutely incredible. And they get a ton of hype for the match. The match sells out, like they fill butts in seats, and everybody knows that match occurred. Right? So
I know for a fact there's a ton of people up here who are like, I don't know what Texas 3-gun championship is, but I just heard it was a big deal, so I'm definitely going next year.
yeah.
You know, I'm like, yes, you should. I was there, and it's all true.
Yeah.
Go.
Well, and I'm not very good at singing my own praises, but I do think that the content that the 3-gun show created around Texas 3-gun of getting people excited about who were shooting the match, and then showing the how the battle went down, that did add a lot to that match. And it took what all the hard work that Garrison had done, and then him and I teaming up. I created that for the 3-gun show. He was doing the social media for Texas 3-gun. It took it to like another level, so there's all kinds of possibilities out there for this sport. And I mean, they're infinite. There's possibilities for everything are infinite. But it takes a lot of effort to do it. And it takes
Takes a special set of skills,
yes,
and dedicated focus in that direction.
And I was going to say a desire by the match director to make that a thing, right? So
Yes.
like the matches that don't care about it, don't do it, right? Adam is a match director of the Jeff Kirkwell Memorial match. He cares about it. He got Rachel and he got me, both created content around it. Rachel and I coordinated beforehand, talking about how we were going to divide things up. We high-fived, we did our thing, and I think they complemented each other. So that media portion of a match is so important, and it's going to be more and more and more important if you want to have sponsors of your match, if you want to have people going to your match. Because once again, like back when there were 12 matches, like people just went to the matches because they were there, right? Now that there's so many stinking matches, and you can probably drive past 2 or 3 matches to get to the one match you want to shoot, there has to be a draw for it. And that's going to be the content created around the match, and getting people excited about it. It's why they have previews for movies. You don't just go see a movie because of the name. You want to know what you're going to get when you pay that $20 for your ticket and you go sit down and watch the movie.
I've never thought about it that way.
Seriously?
Yeah, like a movie. Yeah, I've never thought about that. But yeah, almost every movie I watched is because I saw it. Like, oh, that looks cool. I should watch that.
Oh yeah. Well, another thing is that I've talked to. Actually, this might be one of those conversations that I was speaking a different language, so you just kind of discarded it. Is we've talked about doing like a video preview for JKM when it comes around, right? To get people excited about it when registration opens. And so
Yeah.
If you've
Yeah,
got
that was something he talked about. I didn't know what he was saying.
so if you've got a media person and you're going to use them, engage them early and talk about these things, because if that person's done like me, like I've got so much video and photos from, or I have so much video and photos from JKM, Jeff Kirkwald, that that right now, with the last 3 years of video and photos, I could make a pretty sweet promo video for when the match opens up. And that's what we were talking about. But we talked about it at the match, so I understand why you forgot. And that type of thing is what gets people excited about going to matches. And again, like, that's next level shit. If you just have a photo of someone shooting with your announcement on Facebook or with your email, that will get people in that mode. It's December, the match just opened up, it's cold as shit outside, they haven't shot in 2 months because they're done with their season, but they see a photo of someone with 2 brass cases in the air, looking down the rifle through their razor, and they're running, and it's sunny out, and they remember, like, that match was fun. I had a great time at that match. It gives them that feeling, it puts them in that mode, and it makes them want to sign up, rather than just like, hey, here's a practice score link. So,
well, and also I think like the matches are they're the basis of everything. Like, but most of us who participate are participating at the certainly dedicated, if not obsessed, enthusiast. And so the reason a hype man is important to a match, if you're looking at things to have at your match, is because that allows people to engage on it at a next level. They're engaging with your match, whatever it is, before they get there, and then after they leave. You know, like we're talking about next year. I'm going to let this cat out of the bag so that you have to do it. We're talking about doing like like people in the sport crave engaging with, because we can't physically shoot all day, every day, most of them, but we want to be engaged in the sport. And so we're looking for stuff like that. And you need guys like Dave, like Garrison, like Rachel, creating that world for people to live in. I don't want to make it. I just want to live there.
Right. And when I started the show, like, Three Gun Nation was a big thing, right? So watching Three Gun Nation on TV was a great salesman for every other match, right? And we don't have that anymore. So now we need to create, we being the community, people that are involved in matches, we need to create that environment. We need to create that content for the matches. Another good person that's done a lot of stuff is Dustin Sanchez for the Trigun, right?
Yep.
So Dustin and I, we chat on a semi-regular basis and exchange ideas about things that are going on in match content creation. And Dustin does a fantastic job of making the Trigun look like the big event that it is. So there's so many opportunities to create content around matches, and we kind of ran into 2 of them. Our next one's Hype Man, but that gets people excited about what they're doing and what they're shooting. So another great thing that Texas 3 Gun has done is they have hashtag TX3G, right? So now you can just go to social media, click on that hashtag, and go right there. So it sounds silly to create a hashtag, but create a hashtag around your match.
And one that's easy.
Yeah. It doesn't, and it doesn't have to be.
If you have to ask if yours is not easy, it's not.
Right. Like, here's one, like, hashtag Generation III Gun Championship. That is not an easy hashtag. An easy hashtag is hashtag GEN3. Hashtag Gen 3. Like that, like, that's pretty friggin' easy, right?
I mean, if you basically need your hashtag to be recitable as a joke.
Yeah.
Instead of laughter.
Yeah. If I shout out your hashtag, would Amax laugh?
Exactly.
That's the litmus test. So, yeah, and I guess, man, I don't know. I live in this environment, and this is what I do full time. So I could probably go on forever about social media and yeah, but I don't.
That's when we're talking about media positions at a match and the need for that. I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff that happens. There's a lot of really cool stories that happen there. You need somebody who can tell that story.
Yeah.
Various ways to tell that story. We can get on and do podcasts. We can take pictures. We can post videos. There's probably other cool ways that I don't even understand. I mean, someone probably got a tattoo from something that happened to them at Pro-Am one time, and
at
like,
Pro-Am.
yeah, but like, I mean, you need that. You need a Dustin Sanchez fat shaming you into not doing tactical games. Like, you just need that to make it kind of this next level thing to push the sport into an arena where a lot of us would like it to go, where like it's a, as an enthusiast, it's a world unto itself outside of just shooting guns at a match on a weekend. Like, this is how we, on the national level, we all have friends in different states that we never see, but we interact with each other in this world of 3-gun, and we would like it to be fuller so that we had more ways to interact with each other. That's where the value of a photographer, a social media guy, and a hype man come from, is they're building that world. And the more people feel part of that world, even if they weren't there, that's what drives or fuels them to sign up for next year. So when they see the match announcement for next year, they're signing up because they see that really cool thing that happened that they missed out on, but they want to be a part of it so that they can be a part of the story for next year and laugh at Joe Farewell when he slipped in the mud. And instead of just seeing it on YouTube.
And let's be honest, like you might get your match on your local radio, AM radio.
Yeah.
Maybe. But you're not going to get it on TV anymore. And none of this stuff is ever going to be on television. So we need to seek alternate routes. Facebook is a thing. And as of right now, you can still promote on Facebook. Instagram is a thing. And as of right now, you can still promote on Instagram. YouTube is a thing. As of right now, you can still promote on YouTube. 3-Gun Show is a thing. Like I own the media server that this is coming to you from, so it can't be squelched. Like once it's out there,
3-Gun Show is very pro 2A.
We pride ourselves on being pro 2A. So I guess what I'm saying is like it's like whack-a-mole, right? When they being the evil gun grabbers, when they knock you out of a position that you are in, like television, you need to think outside the box and go somewhere else. If you're not getting the reach on Facebook for your match, you need to. We're going way into the weeds here.
Yep.
Sorry.
Okay.
I'm passionate about it because I do this stuff all the time. So anyway,
but
we should probably do a best practices podcast.
Well,
call me up. I will consult for you.
Yeah, and I'm actually glad Dave went into the weeds on that a little bit, just because it's a hard sell to some matches to convince them why this is important or why we need to take why this person, we can't have that person ROing because I need them to do this. But that's bringing it back to like these are all ways we've been going for like 2 hours now. These are all ways that you can help at your match, and it's not necessarily what you see on the surface. That helps. All these people are important. We need all these people. And a lot of times these positions are done by the same people. Yeah. So a lot of people wear multiple hats. I don't know anybody. There aren't very many matches where you get to wear one hat. And that's it. Well, I was lucky this year. I got to wear Range Master and that's it. Like for one, but like that's not normal. Normally you got to do more. Or people are doing more.
Yes.
But these kind of things, I just don't think people understood all the things that need to happen, or maybe they had illusions that there were like other weird like cloak and dagger jobs out there. It's like, not these are the jobs. These are the things that need to get done, and you can do one or more of them. But if you're inclined to help, and I hope you are, I hope that somewhere on that list was something that you said, I could do that. And then I hope that you reach out to a match director, or if you want to be a match director, and pick up one of these balls and run with them.
Yeah. If you randomly have a cow and a barbecue, you could provide value to a match. I mean, like, you could sit around and think like of 1,000 different ways that you could provide value to a match. Is
a guy whose name I regrettably forgot literally came up to me. He's like, I really want to. He was a member of Forest Lake Sportsman's Club, and he's like, man, I really want to help with your match. We do competition barbecue. Like, could we cook for you guys? Like, yes, yes, you can.
Absolutely. You know, there was a dude. His name is Matt Young that shot with us in Colorado, and he owned a fencing company. And part of fencing is ripping out crappy fences and putting in new fences, right? So the crappy fence posts that he would tear out were cut into 12-inch lengths and became targets. Like, that's another example, number 998, of a way that you can provide value to a match.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
really our goal here is kind of spelling it out for you. Like, here's all the ways you can help, and you know, there's something for everybody on this list. If you like 3-gun, there's something for everybody on this list. So, you know, pick one, you know, and you know, you're not going to get invited unless you just stand too close to a match director. But, like, you know, if you want to help, if you approach a match director and say, I want to help, they have all of these needs, and you could certainly do one of them, and they would be more than glad to have you out.
And if you are approached by a match director to do something, I mean, take that as a huge compliment, because you know, they've got a lot invested in pulling off a good match, and if they think that you're competent enough to help them in pulling off that match, go out and help. And once again, take that as a compliment. So, Adam, any other roles we missed? I'm sure there's got to be like way more.
There's not really, though. I think we hit on most of them. So, like, if we really boil it down into like definable positions, like, I think that's what we're looking at. So
yeah. So from the top, we've got match director, property coordinator, prize table coordinator, build crew, range master, Mr. Fix-It, stats guy or stats gal. Could also be a Miss Fix-It. I've never seen one of those, but that could happen. Range officer team being the CRO and the scorekeeper, and under media we've got photographer, social media, and hype man. And I think that about covers it, dude.
This is what we need to build a field of dreams. So
right, and we need all of you to help build that field of dreams.
And we will all come over to your house.
Yep. All right. Well, Adam, thanks for taking the time out of your Friday to be on the show once again, and for coming up with this awesome topic. How do you get on the show? Come up with an awesome topic, and then you get to be the guy that talks about it. So always appreciate you, buddy. It's great to talk to you.
Yep.
And
hope everyone enjoyed the show. Glad to be on.
Yeah, if we missed something big, let us know. If you have like a skill and you don't know how to apply it, hit me up, dave@3gunshow.com, and I will tell you how to apply that, or just post on the Instagram, Facebook, 3gunshow.com, wherever you see this content. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in once again. We'll see you on the range.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the 3-Gun Show. If you like this type of content, you can support us on a monthly basis for as little as $5 by subscribing on Patreon at 3gunshow.com/Patreon. And thank you to all those that do support us in that manner. You can also give your business to the companies that support the 3-Gun Show, including Vortex Optics, IWI, and JP Rifles. Until next week, I'm Dave Hartman, and I'll see you on the range.